At my husband's birthday party, I got a call from my daughter. She said, "Stop the party right now." I thought she was overreacting. Turns out she saved everyone's life. My husband Michael's 50th birthday was supposed to be perfect. I'd been planning it for months, a surprise party with all his closest friends, colleagues, and family members. The backyard was decorated with string lights, there was a full bar setup, catered food from his favorite restaurant, and a custom cake that cost more than some people's rent. About 40 people had gathered to celebrate the man I'd been married to for 22 years. Everyone was laughing, drinking, sharing stories about Michael's legendary sense of humor and his generous spirit. It felt like the kind of party people would talk about for years. I had spent weeks coordinating every detail. The guest list included his college roommates who'd flown in from different states, his work colleagues from the accounting firm where he'd been a partner for 8 years, our neighbors who'd become close friends, and family members from both sides. I'd even managed to track down his old basketball coach from high school, who was now in his 70s but still sharp as a tack. The catering alone had cost $2,500, but I wanted everything to be perfect for Michael. He'd been working so hard lately, putting in long hours, dealing with stress at the office. He deserved a celebration that would remind him how loved and appreciated he was. I was in the kitchen, lighting the candles on his birthday cake, a 3-layer chocolate masterpiece with "Happy 50th Michael" written in elegant gold script across the top, when my phone rang. The caller ID showed my daughter Emma's name. Emma was 21, away at college about 3 hours from home, so I figured she was calling to wish her dad happy birthday since she couldn't make it to the party. "Hi, sweetheart," I answered, balancing the phone between my ear and shoulder while I continued lighting candles. "Perfect timing. We're just about to do the cake ceremony." "Mom?" Her voice was sharp, urgent in a way that made me immediately stop what I was doing. "Stop the party right now." I laughed, thinking she was joking. "What? Emma, what are you talking about? The party's going great. Your dad is having the time of his life." "Mom, I'm serious. Stop the party. Get everyone out, right now." The tone in her voice made my stomach drop. Emma had always been the dramatic one in our family, but this was different. This was real fear. "Emma, you're scaring me. What's going on?" "I can't explain over the phone, but you need to trust me. Stop everything. Don't let anyone eat or drink anything else. And whatever you do, don't let Dad make his speech." I looked out the kitchen window at the party in full swing. Michael was standing near the bar, gesturing animatedly while telling a story to a group of his college friends. Everyone was laughing. The scene looked absolutely normal. His college friend Tom was doubled over with laughter at something Michael had said. Janet from next door was chatting with Michael's sister Karen near the appetizer table. The mood was festive, warm, exactly what I'd hoped for. "Honey, I think you might be—" "Mom!" Emma's voice was so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "I found something about Dad, something horrible. You have to stop the party before he—" The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking. Emma had never, in 21 years, called me with that level of panic in her voice. My daughter was many things, emotional, sometimes overdramatic, but she wasn't delusional. I tried calling her back immediately. It went straight to voicemail. Through the window, I could see Michael had moved to the center of the yard and was tapping his glass with a knife, clearly preparing to make his birthday speech. The crowd was gathering around him, raising their glasses in anticipation. My heart was pounding. Every logical part of my brain said this was ridiculous. What could Emma possibly have found that would require stopping a birthday party? Michael was the most reliable, trustworthy person I knew. He'd never missed a parent-teacher conference, never forgotten an anniversary, never given me any reason to doubt him. But the mother in me, the part that had spent 21 years learning to trust my daughter's instincts, was screaming that something was very wrong. I made a split-second decision. I walked outside and approached the group just as Michael was opening his mouth to speak. "Actually," I said, my voice carrying across the yard, "before Michael gives his speech, I think we should all go inside for a minute. I want to show everyone the photo slideshow I put together." Michael looked confused. "Honey, I was just about to. It'll just take a few minutes, I insisted, already guiding people toward the house. Trust me, you'll love it. What I was doing felt insane, but Emma's voice kept echoing in my head. Stop the party right now. But Sarah, Michael said, following me, I had this whole speech planned. I was going to thank everyone for coming, tell some stories. The slideshow has all our favorite memories, I said, trying to sound normal while my heart raced. Everyone will love seeing the photos from our early years together. Some of the guests looked confused, but they followed me inside anyway. I could see Michael's jaw tighten slightly, a tell I'd learned to recognize over the years when he was frustrated, but trying to hide it. Once I got everyone inside and distracted with small talk and the photo slideshow I'd actually prepared weeks earlier, I excused myself and went upstairs to try Emma again. This time she answered on the first ring. Mom, thank God. Did you stop the party? Emma, everyone's inside, but you need to tell me what's going on right now. There was a pause, and when she spoke again I could hear that she'd been crying. Mom, I need you to sit down. I'm sitting. I found Dad's other phone. My blood went cold. What other phone? I came home this weekend to grab some stuff from my room. Dad wasn't supposed to be there, but his car was in the garage. I thought maybe he was planning something for your anniversary next week, so I was trying to be quiet. When I went to the kitchen to grab a snack, I saw a phone on the counter that I'd never seen before. I felt like I was falling down a dark hole. Emma. It was buzzing with text messages. I know I shouldn't have looked, but the preview showed something about tonight's the night and insurance policy, and I got scared. What did the messages say? Emma took a shaky breath. Mom, the texts were about you, about the party, about making it look like an accident. The room started spinning. What? There were messages going back months. Plans, details about your life insurance policy, about how much money Dad would get if something happened to you, and not just you. Messages about making sure there were witnesses, other people who could tragically be affected. I couldn't breathe. This couldn't be real. Michael and I had been married for over 2 decades. We had a daughter together. We'd built a life together. We'd survived Emma's difficult teenage years, my mother's death, his father's stroke. We'd renovated this house together, planted the garden together, chosen the color of every room together. Emma, are you sure you're reading this right? Maybe it's some kind of work thing or… Mom, there were photos of you that you didn't know he was taking, your schedule, your routines, lists of your medications, and there were messages about tonight specifically, about the party being the perfect opportunity because so many people would be there as witnesses. I was going to be sick. There's more, Emma continued, her voice breaking. I found evidence that this isn't the first time. There were messages about other women who died in accidents after being married to someone who looks just like Dad. That's impossible. Your father wouldn't… Mom, his name isn't Michael Harrison. Everything stopped. What? I found documents hidden in his office. Real documents. His actual name is David Kellerman. And he's done this before, multiple times. There were newspaper clippings about 3 different women who died in suspicious accidents. All were married to him under different names. I felt like I was going to pass out. The man I'd been married to for 22 years, the father of my child, the person I trusted more than anyone in the world, was not who I thought he was. The room felt like it was tilting. I thought about our wedding day, how nervous Michael had seemed when we were filling out the marriage license. I'd thought it was sweet, normal wedding jitters. Now I wondered if he'd been nervous about committing fraud. I thought about how he'd always been vague about his childhood, his family. They're all gone, he'd say whenever I asked about relatives. No point dwelling on the past. I'd thought it was grief. Now I realized it was because David Kellerman's past didn't match Michael Harrison's stories. Emma, where are you now? I'm at the police station. I've been here for 2 hours. They're taking this very seriously. They told me to call you immediately and make sure you stopped whatever was planned for tonight. Through the bedroom door, I could hear Michael downstairs asking people where I'd gone, suggesting that maybe it was time to go back outside for his speech. The police are coming to the house, Emma continued. They should be there in about 10 minutes. But Mom, you need to keep everyone inside until they arrive. Don't let Dad know that you know anything. I heard Michael's footsteps on the stairs. I have to go, I whispered into the phone. Mom, whatever you do, don't be alone with him. I hung up just as Michael appeared in the bedroom doorway. There you are, he said, smiling that familiar smile I'd loved for over 2 decades. Except now it looked different. Now it looked like a mask. Everyone's asking about you. Ready to come back down for the speech? I forced myself to smile back. Of course. Just needed a minute to touch up my makeup. But as I looked at this man I thought I knew, I realized I was looking at a complete stranger. A stranger who had been planning to kill me and make it look like an accident, with all our friends as witnesses. I studied his face, looking for signs of the deception I'd somehow missed for 22 years. How had I not seen it? How had he fooled me so completely? Actually, I said, why don't we just stay inside for the speech? It's getting a bit chilly out there. Michael's expression flickered for just a moment, but I had it all planned for outside, the setup, the lighting. I think inside will be more intimate, I insisted, walking past him toward the stairs. Everyone will be able to hear you better. I could feel him watching me as we went downstairs, and I wondered if he could sense that something had changed. I wondered how many other women had felt this same terror, this same realization that the person they trusted most was planning their murder. When we got back to the living room, I positioned myself near the front door and made sure I wasn't alone with Michael. I kept checking my phone, waiting for some sign that the police were close. Michael moved to the center of the room and raised his glass again. Well, he said, I guess we're doing this inside after all. He launched into what I now realized might have been intended as my eulogy disguised as a birthday speech. He talked about how much he loved our life together, how grateful he was for everything we'd built, how he hoped we'd have many more years together. Sarah has been the perfect wife, he said, looking directly at me. Loyal, trusting, always putting our family first. She's given me everything a man could ask for. The words made my skin crawl. I thought about how he'd always encouraged me to be more trusting, less suspicious, how he'd praised me for being low maintenance and not the jealous type. I'd thought he appreciated my faith in him. Now I realized he'd been grooming me to be the perfect victim. Of course, he continued with a laugh, you never know what life has in store. We should all remember to cherish every moment because we never know when it might be our last. Several people nodded and raised their glasses. Tom from college called out, "Hear, hear." I felt sick. That's why, Michael continued, I want to take this opportunity to tell my beautiful wife how much she means to me. Sarah, you've given me everything a man could want. A beautiful daughter, a wonderful home, a life worth living. He looked directly at me, and for a moment I saw something in his eyes that made my skin crawl. It wasn't love. It was something calculating, something cold. I want everyone here to remember this moment, he said, to remember how happy we all were tonight. That's when I heard the sirens. Michael heard them too. His expression changed completely, the mask dropping entirely. For the first time in 22 years, I was seeing the real person underneath. The sirens were getting closer. Some of the party guests looked toward the windows, confused. Sounds like they're coming this way, someone said. Michael's face had gone pale. He set down his glass and took a step toward me. Sarah, he said quietly, what did you do? The front door burst open, and police officers flooded into our living room. Our party guests screamed and scattered, confusion and terror filling the room as officers shouted commands. Everyone stay where you are! Hands where we can see them! David Kellerman, one of the officers called out, pointing directly at Michael, you're under arrest. Michael, David, looked around the room like a trapped animal. For a moment, I thought he might try to run. Instead, he looked at me with pure hatred. You have no idea what you've just done, he said. But I did know. I just saved my own life, and possibly the lives of everyone at that party. It took hours to sort everything out. The police questioned everyone, took statements, collected evidence. Our guests were traumatized and confused. Most of them left as soon as they were allowed to. Tom, Michael's college friend, pulled me aside before he left. "Sarah, I don't understand what's happening. This has to be some kind of mistake. Michael's one of the good guys." I didn't know what to say. Part of me still couldn't believe it myself. Emma arrived around midnight, having driven straight from the police station. We held each other and cried for a long time. "How did you know to look at his phone?" I asked her. "I didn't," she said. "It was pure accident. I was going to grab a soda from the fridge and the phone was just sitting there on the counter, buzzing constantly. But Mom, once I started looking, there was so much evidence. The police said he's been doing this for over 15 years. You're the fourth woman he's married under different identities. What happened to the others?" Emma was quiet for a moment. "They all died in accidents. House fires, car crashes, food poisoning, but the insurance payouts were always substantial, and he always had perfect alibis." I thought about all the times over the years when Michael had encouraged me to increase my life insurance coverage, how he'd always insisted on being the sole beneficiary, how he'd made sure I had no close friends he didn't know about, no family members he wasn't charming to. I'd thought it was love. It was actually isolation. "The police think tonight was going to be some kind of gas leak," Emma continued. "They found equipment in his car that could have caused an explosion. With all those people there as witnesses, it would have looked like a tragic accident." The investigation revealed the full scope of David's operation. He was a professional con artist and serial killer who specialized in targeting middle-aged women with good life insurance policies. He'd change his identity, court his victims for just long enough to marry them and get access to their finances, then arrange their deaths to look accidental. His real name was David Kellerman, and he had been wanted in connection with suspicious deaths in 4 different states. The police had been looking for him for years, but he was very good at disappearing and reinventing himself. I learned that almost everything about our life together had been a lie. The job he claimed to have? The accounting firm was real, but his credentials were fake. His family history? Completely made up. Even his personality, the humor, the generosity, the charm that had attracted me to him, was all an act designed to make me trust him completely. The hardest part was realizing that Emma had never really known her father at all, the man who had raised her, who had taught her to ride a bike and helped her with homework and walked her to school, was a stranger who had been planning to murder her mother. "I keep thinking about all the times he told me he loved me," Emma said one night, weeks after the arrest. "Was any of it real?" I didn't have an answer for her. I was asking myself the same question. David was eventually sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was connected to the deaths of 6 women across multiple states, with evidence suggesting there might have been more victims whose cases hadn't been solved. During the trial, more details emerged about his methods. He was meticulous, patient, and incredibly skilled at becoming exactly what each victim wanted in a partner. He studied them for months before making contact, learning their preferences, their vulnerabilities, their dreams. With me, he'd presented himself as a stable, family-oriented man who wanted children and a quiet suburban life. With his previous victim, a wealthy widow in Arizona, he'd been an adventurous world traveler who shared her love of art and culture. The prosecutor called him one of the most dangerous and calculating serial killers we've ever prosecuted. Emma and I had to rebuild our lives completely. We moved to a different state, changed our names, started over. The trauma of discovering that someone you love is actually planning to kill you doesn't just go away. We both needed years of therapy, but we survived, and we learned to trust our instincts again. Emma's decision to call me that night, to trust her gut feeling that something was wrong even though she couldn't fully explain it, saved not just my life but potentially the lives of everyone at that party. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if she hadn't come home that weekend, if she hadn't seen that phone, if she hadn't been brave enough to look at those messages and call the police. I think about how I would have died believing that I was loved by a man who was actually nothing more than a predator. But I also think about how lucky I am to have a daughter who trusted her instincts and wasn't afraid to act on them, even when it meant destroying everything we thought we knew about our family. The detective who worked our case told me that most victims never see it coming. "These guys are professionals," he said. "They're not sloppy criminals. They're methodical, patient, and very good at what they do." But Emma saw through it. My 21-year-old daughter, who I sometimes thought was too trusting, too naive about the world, was the one who recognized evil when she saw it. That phone call, "Stop the party right now," was the most important phone call of my life. So what do you think? Would you have trusted your daughter's warning, or would you have assumed she was overreacting? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to hear more stories about the shocking secrets hiding behind closed doors, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell.